on Yom Kippur, what is he chayev? Chorus. Ava pishim is chayev ben avshoy shchitas kshera. Incredible chiddush. Even though what he's doing is 100% asur, he's chayev misa, but his chorus on Shabbos he's chayev regular misa. B'dei adam, his shchita is kosher. Toises and all the Rishonim discuss. We learned that if you're a mummer l'davar echad, you mummer l'Shabbos, then your shchita is no good. So there's all sorts of tirutzim here, all sorts of Rishonim. Omer Rav Huna is very, very nice sugi actually, but we have other things to go into, so we'll continue on. Omer Rav Huna, Dorash Chio Barav Mishmei de Rav. So Rav says the halacha here. Now, I don't want to scare you, but it's what we're about to say. Rav says a halacha. He says like this: Asura ba'achila liyoyma. Simple halacha. What the Mishnah means that you're allowed to eat the meat, meaning only on Matzah Shabbos. You have to wait until Matzah Shabbos. V'nosmin chaverayo lemeima Rabbi Yehudi. So step 3 is that step 1 is the Mishnah, the meat is kosher. Step 2 is Rav says you can only eat on Matzah Shabbos. Step 3 is who decided, who's the author of this halacha? It's Rabbi Yehuda. Now, the fact that the Gemara says it's Rabbi Yehuda, that's what we're going to discuss today. Which Rabbi Yehuda? They don't say who. Where's this Rabbi Yehuda? It's Rabbi Yehuda, somewhere. You find it in Shas. It's basically like a riddle. We're going to have to go through Shas and find this Rabbi Yehuda. On step number 1, the first Rabbi Yehuda that it is, there's like 7-8 steps. A little bit of a cheshbon, just halt cup. They're very simple steps. These are the steps. And we're going to go over the steps. They're very easy. So again, the Mishnah says, somebody that's Mechal Shabbos, that shechs on Shabbos, his meat is kosher, comes Rav. Rav says, only on Matzah Shabbos. Say the Chaverim, that goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. Which Rabbi Yehuda? Omar Reb Abba says he gets the first try. Rabbi Yehuda the Hachanehi. Thank you. This goes according to Rabbi Yehuda in the halacha of Hachana on Shabbos. Right? We all know something that's muktzah on Migud is katzoy ben hashmoshes, is katzoy lekuli yoyma. If something is muktzah before as Shabbos comes in, it's muktzah for the whole day. Hachana. So what's this hachana? This nan mechatchin es hadiluin lifnei behema v'sanevela lifnei haklav. If you have gourds, some sort of food that's not attached to the ground on Shabbos, you're allowed to cut it off for your animal. We're not going to go into that halacha. That's halacha of maybe tircha on Shabbos. This is the halacha that we want. V'sanevela lifnei haklavim. An animal drops dead on Shabbos. You're allowed to take the animal, cut it up, and give it to the dogs. Now, this animal before Shabbos, what was it?
Alive.
It was alive, not really meant for dogs. So, when Shabbos came in, this wasn't food for dogs. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im lehoisen avela merev Shabbos asura. Why? Because the live animal is not roi for a dog. So mela it is muktzah as Shabbos comes in, and therefore you can't feed it to the dog. Alma kivin deloy itchan me'etmol asura. So comes the Rabbi and says, you see from Rabbi Yehuda that something that's not prepared from before Shabbos, you can't use it on Shabbos. Hachanami kivin deloy itchan me'etmol. Since we're talking about an animal that was shechted on Shabbos, since this animal wasn't meant to eat on Shabbos, why wasn't it meant to eat on Shabbos? Says Rashi, because all animals are ligadil, they're for breeding purposes only, they're not to eat. Eating comes all the way at the end of its life. But as you look at an animal, it's not for food. You could eat it, but it's not for food. It's designated for ligadil. So memela, that's why on Shabbos it's muktzah. If you shechted it, it's muktzah. You have to wait until Motzei Shabbos. Omer le'abayo.
Why have to come out to that? That's roy bayim asasuin legado, even if it's not.
It's for work.
Unless it's maybe this for time.
Why is it katsoi?
Because it was alive. You shechted it on Shabbos, it was alive.
Okay, so that's a different problem. So the Rishonim discussed that problem. If it was 100% for food, it seems like it would be okay. Because minus the problem that it's not shechted, that's not an issue. Because in his mind, he designated for food, so it's food. It's just an halachic problem. It's missing like a technical how to get there. But in his mind, that's what the Ran and the Rash will say. Okay, so so Abai tells Rabbi Abba that's not a good Rabbi Yehuda. Now, just as a side thing, there's a very interesting Ran in Nidarim. It's not get to all of Shas, but it comes up. It makes a lot of sense in our sugya. The Ran in Nidarim says a lot of times the Gemara goes through different things, like in our sugya. We're going to go through many different steps all the way into tomorrow's daf. Which Rabbi Yehuda? We know the answer. We know what the answer is. The reason why we go through all these steps is just to bring up the musagim again. So we become familiar with, we're going to talk about truma, we're going to talk about muktzah, we're going to talk about noilad, whatever it is. Today we're going to go through half a shas. Why? Because the Gemara wants us to be familiar with all these concepts. We know what the answer is, but that's the derech of the Gemara. So, I don't think it could be because of hachana. Over there, when the animal dropped dead on Shabbos, to begin with, when Shabbos came in, it was designated for human consumption. Then when it died without shchita, you try to flip the designation because you can't eat it because it died on its own without shchita. So you said, you know what? Let me just give it to the dogs. So you can't do that. You can't change designations on Shabbos. But over here, since it was designated for human consumption to begin with when Shabbos came in, so it just continued into that designation on Shabbos. And what's the problem? Rabbi Yehuda would admit that it's okay. That's not muktzah. As the Gemara, it's not true. It's not designated for human consumption. It's designated for breeding. Breeding is a different designation. So now, the Gemara asks the question, if you say that an animal is only for breeding, then how in the world does Rabbi Yehuda hold that you're allowed to shecht an animal on Yontif? Everybody holds that you could shecht an animal on Yontif as long as you eat the animal on Yontif. But how can you shecht the animal on Yontif? It's muktzah. It's not designated for eating. It's designated for breeding. So Rabbi Yehuda has a problem, according to you.
If you made it for eating.
You switch the designation?
Yeah,
if you said specifically,
you need it with the
okay.
Shabbos if you need to.
Okay, but now you're being mechadish something that you would have to designate. You have to make a whole thing beforehand. Nobody ever says that. On Yontif, you grab any animal, you shecht it.
You don't have to think before. You have to come to that.
Says the Gemara, Omar loy oimedes lachila voimedes legadol. An animal has two designations to it. It could either go to the right for food, or it could go for breeding. Now it depends on what you decide. And what is that called in Gemara language? Breira. Retroactive, your thought retroactively designates it. We have two designations. It can't be both. It has to be one or the other. Who decides? You decide. But it goes retroactive. As Shabbos came in, if you shechted on Shabbos, that means 6 hours ago when Shabbos came in, you already decided then that it's for food. And if you don't shecht it, then it's we don't know what it is. So then you have to come onto the concept of breira. That's only good if you hold breira. If you don't hold a breira, which the Gemara is going to prove that review that doesn't hold, then you don't have this concept. Then what? Then that's step number 7, and the whole thing falls apart. So let's see it inside, and then I'm going to show you the chart just to make it a little bit more visual. It has two designations. If you shecht it, then retroactively it became designated for food. But if you didn't shecht it, then the opposite. Then it becomes retroactively you decided that was for breeding and not for food. And then the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold breira. Therefore, Reb Abba's pshat in the Mishnah falls away. How? So here, this is how it looks. visually. The Mishnah says Hashoiche b'Shabbos kosher. Rav says the Mishnah is talking about only on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Gemara that goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. That's step number 3. Step number 4 means, this is Rabbi Abba, he says, which Rabbi Yehuda? The Rabbi Yehuda that says that if you don't prepare it before Shabbos, it's Asr. And you have to say, step number 5, that an animal is for breeding, and therefore you have to prepare it. Because if it's for food, you don't have to prepare it. It's already prepared. What about Yontif? Then we have to say, step number 6, that it's for breeding and for food. But that's only if you say Yesh Breira. Then I could choose between Legadel and Shchita. But if I don't have the Yesh Breira, then how does Rabbi Yehuda say you could shecht on Shabbat, on Yontif? I can't shecht on Yontif. And if I can't shecht on Yontif, obviously, if I could shecht on Yontif, obviously you hold it's not muktzah. If it's not muktzah, then there's no problem in our Mishnah. Only if you hold that it's muktzah, then our Mishnah would say you have to wait until Motzei Shabbos because it's muktzah. But if you don't hold that it's muktzah because you hold ein breira, so you hold there's no muktzah. If there's no muktzah, then it can't. Then our Mishnah is not a problem. You don't have to wait till Motzei Shabbos. Why does our Mishnah say you have to wait until Motzei Shabbos? So it cannot be this Rabbi Yehuda that says that it's muktzah, that you have to have achana. But you see from Yontif, you see from if you hold, in order to shecht on Yontif, and there's muktzah. Again, if you hold this muktzah and to shecht on Yontif, you would have to say yesh breira. I would have to be able to designate retroactively. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of yesh breira because that's what we're going to get to in the next 2 lines. He holds ein breira. If ein breira, how do you shecht on Yontif? The only explanation I can have is how do you shecht on Yontif? Because it's not muktzah. If it's not muktzah on Yontif, then it's not muktzah on Shabbos. And if it's not muktzah on Shabbos, then in our Mishnah, why can't you eat it on Shabbos? Why do you have to wait till Motzei Shabbos? We wanted to say the reason why you have to wait till Motzei Shabbos is because it's muktzah according to Rabbi Yehuda. But if it's muktzah, then you can't eat it on Yontif. The only way you can eat it on Yontif is yesh breira. But he holds ein breira, so you can't. It's a cheshbon. It's a 7-step cheshbon. That's why I put it out in paper. I don't know if this helps. If it doesn't help, then look it up in the WhatsApp. I already sent it on the WhatsApp. By the way, amazing thing happened last night. Gershon Ben Moshe spent over 3 hours with me, teaching me how to do some of this stuff and graphics. And then when I was done, I went home.
I see a table all of a sudden. That's,
What?
that thing is a table.
This is, I don't know if we... But then, no, he taught me this stuff. We're going to get there, this guy. But then I was done, and I went home and I had a technical difficulty, so he came over to my house. After the 3 hours, literally 3 hours, from 6 to 9:15. I called upon him. And he came over like at, 11:30, 12. So Yishkoyach Reb Gershon. It was for Torah.
Charted a new course, folks.
New charts. Many more nicer charts. Zok the Gemara. Says the Gemara, V'hales leila Rabbi Yehuda breira. We know that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold to the concept that you could do something today, and we decide that retroactively that's what happened. That's what he meant. Minalan, how do I know? Now the Gemara is going to take 2 tries. Try number 1 is not going to go. On try number 2, we're going to get it. If somebody buys wine from a kusi is the guy that we were discussing, whether or not the Gerim Emes, Gerarayas, they became Gerim. We're going to say, according to the Mandama, that the true Gerim, the real Gerim, and therefore what you buy from them, the produce you buy from them, is Chayev B'Truma Meiser. They don't really take Trumas and Meisers. Unlike an Amaretz takes Truma, doesn't really do Meiser. A Kusi doesn't do anything, but he's a Jew. So you have to be careful when you buy produce from him. So what do? If you buy wine, so here's another chart, because again, we're just going through Shas. These are famous things, but just to be more familiar and make it mamish part of us. When you have produce, if you buy 100 liters of something, the first step is you have to take Truma Gdoila. That is approximately 2%. It could be 1%, it could be 4%, but approximately 2%. Now, what are you left with? Let's say 98%. From the 98%, you take Meiser Rishon. That's 10%, which goes to the Levi. I just put in a little over here that it really comes out to 9.8% because you stole 2% for the Kohen. 10% goes to the Levi. From that 10%, that's the last step. The Levi himself takes 10% of what you gave him, gives it to the Kohen. That's only 1% of the total of what you started out with. But it's 10% of what the Levi got. Fine. Step number 2 is Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni is in year 1, 2, 4, and 5, you give yourself 10%, but you have to bring it to Yerushalayim. And if it's too heavy for you, you could redeem it to coins, bring the coins to Yerushalayim, you eat it yourself in Yerushalayim. That's Meiser Sheni. Years 3 and 6 is Meiser Ani, also 10%. Basically what you're giving here is 20% of your produce to other places. That's where we get the concept of Chaimish, not Meiser. It's better to give 20% of your income to Tzedakah. That's what they used to do in those days. So we have Truma G'dayla, Meiser Rishon, Meiser Sheni, and Trumas Meiser we're not going to be discussing today, but that's the Truma that the Levi who gets 10% of your produce, he also has to give 10% of it, the 10% to the Kohen, which is 1%.
Why is it a chiyuv if you're actually doing 20%?
What?
Why isn't it a chiyuv?
Because it's on produce and not on money. That's how it goes. It's on produce. On animals, you don't have to give 20%, you give 10%. This is different things. Different things require different amounts. So, now the problem is you're buying wine from the Skusi. And it's Erev Shabbos, you don't have time to do all this separation stuff. You don't have the kalim, let's say. You don't have what it takes, says Rashi. It's 2 minutes before Shkia. What do? You need to drink the wine. What you do is you designate in your head. You say, I'm giving 1, 2, and 3, I'm giving right now in my head. From this, it's in here, it's in my barrel, it's on the bottom somewhere. Whatever's left over, that's the 10% that I meant to give. Meanwhile, I'm going to drink from the barrel. I'm drinking. I just drank Meiser, I just drank Truma. Yes, Breira. Retroactively, I know and I understand that whatever was left in the bottom of the barrel, that was the 10% I designated. But that you have to come on to retroactive. That you have to come on to Breira. Okay? So if Rabbi Yehuda says you can't do that, that would mean that Rabbi Yehuda holds you can't do Breira. Ain Breira. There's no retroactive. He says to himself, Shnei Lugim Shani Yasid. He took 100 Lugin. So 2 Lugin. This is right over here at the top. Number 1. 2 Lugin Hareim Truma. Asara Meiser Rishon. 10 Lugim go to Meiser Rishon. It's not really 10. It's 9.8. Tisha Meiser Sheni. And 9, which is 10% what he's left over with, goes to Meiser Sheni. Now, there's just a halacha, quick halacha here.
8 was it 10?
What?
It's not 10, it's not from the total original?
Yeah, that says Tisha Meiser Sheni. You go in just like the original is 98. You're left with 98, so you keep on going down in steps. I know we had that shaila. I'm pretty sure. Look, it says Mefurish here, Tisha Meiser Sheni.
Said the same thing last time.
Yeah. Umeichal v'shoysim miyad. However, when it comes to Meiser Sheni, since he has a very easy way out, he could take his whatever he's chayiv and Meiser Sheni and designate it, put it on money. That he has to do right away. He can't say it's left in the barrel. Divrei Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Oisrin. So what do we see? That Rabbi Yehuda, one of the 3 last Tanoim, say that it's also you can't do breira, you can't designate it in the barrel and say I'll do it on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Gemara, that has nothing to do with Yesh Breira. Daf Yudalim the Beis, Hasan Gedani Taima. Over there it says Mefurish what the reason is. They told him the reason is I'm scared that it'll spill out. And if it breaks, it comes out that everything you drink all through Shabbos was tevel, because it only works if you actually give it at the end. You can't. It's not a trick. You have to give it to the kohen. The trick is only what are you going to give to the kohen? That I'll say retroactively it was that part that was left over.
What happened?
But
What does it mean?
Remeir says it has nothing to do with breira. It's not that of course everybody holds yesh breira, I could designate it in the bottom of the barrel. I'm just worried it's going to tip over Shabbos, it's going to fall on the floor, and everything you drank beforehand was tevel. Omar Lahan, Likishi Baga says, Remeir, I'm not worried about it. If it breaks, it's not going to break. What are you so worried about? It's not going to, the barrel's not going to pop. Akal Panim has nothing to do with breira. So, where do you see the Rabbi that doesn't hold the breira? Elom the Tani Ayoy. Ayoy is the name of a Chacham, says Rashi, the Tani Ayoy. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, no, I didn't look up how many on Shas. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, Ein Odam Masnal Shnei Dvarim Ke'echad.
You will.
Oh, yeah, maybe I should. Here's a beautiful sugya of Tchum. We all know that on Shabbos, you're not allowed to walk past the city you're not allowed to walk 2,000 amma. So what do? If you want to walk more than 2,000 amma, you do something called Erev Tchumim. You take a roll, you take some bread, and you put it. This is the end of the city, this house. I'm allowed to go to each direction of the city 2,000 amma without doing anything. Now, if I take a roll and put it over here, basically what I'm saying is that my house just became where the roll is. So I extended another 2,000 amma in that direction. What do I have total? 4,000 amma. Here's the trick. If I do that, I can only get 4,000 amma. If I do that, then all of a sudden I can't go anywhere on this side. I can't even go 2 steps. I don't have the 2,000 amma anymore. The 2,000 amma that I have on this side, I put it over here. I get 2,000 amma on each side of the city. I take the 2,000 amma from the west and I put it on the east, and now I could go to 4,000 amma. Okay? What happens if a guy's Rebbe is coming? I Bedavka took this cartoon, even though it's very anti-Semitic, with the nose, the whole thing, even though he's touching a Sefer Torah, you're not allowed to touch a Sefer Torah. It's mamish, if you touch a Sefer Torah, that whole sugya, they'll bury you without whatever. Akopanim. It's Tomei v'chulu. So, this is the first rabbi that came up on cartoon rabbi. Now, what happens is, this guy wants to go to his Rebbe. He hears his Rebbe is coming in from out of town. Rashi points out that a Rebbe has a trick. Since he's a traveler, he has a 4,000 amma trick. What he does is he says, I'm standing right over here. I can make it to that city even though it's 4,000 ammas away, because I know that there's a tree 2,000 ammas away from me. That's my house. And from there I go another 2,000 ammas. Fine. Now, if he knows that his Rebbe is coming, he just doesn't know from what direction. His Rebbe, he heard his Rebbe is coming. His Rebbe might come from this side, or his Rebbe might come from this side. So he does 2 eruvs. One here, one here. You cannot have 2 eruvs on Shabbos. You could only have one house. You can't live in 2 different places. So, as the Gemara is going to say, it's not really, over here we're not going to use Breira. He's going to decide which one of the eruvs he wants to use. Okay?
That's rare.
The Gemara is going to explain it's not Breira yet, because that rabbi came before Shabbos. He just didn't know.
It's just a different.
He didn't know.
In his mind, he doesn't know right now when he read in
No, that's not Breira.
No.
That's just finding out.
Right.
He's finding out which
It
eruv
was
before Shabbos even started, because the rabbi showed up before Shabbos. The issue is when you have 2 separate rabbis. You see the 2 different cartoons. They're 2 different guys, and they're both coming in on Shabbos. And he wants to decide on Shabbos which Rebbe he's going to go listen to. Okay? That's Breira. He has to decide on Shabbos which one of the 2 Eruvs was the Eruv Erev Shabbos and which one is nothing. That's a real Breira. So now let's see it inside. Thank goodness for Rashi, because the Gemara doesn't say a word. The Gemara assumes you know this sugya Baal Peh. Says the Gemara, Ein Adam Masna, smack in the middle of a sugya, in Adam Masna, Ashnei Dvarim Ke'echad. You cannot make 2 Eruvim together. It's one or the other, one Eruv or the other. Elohim B'chacham, Lemizrach, Eruv Lemizrach. If the Chacham came from the east, then the loaf of bread you from the east, that's the Eruv. Lemairav, if he came from the west, Eruv Lemairav, then his Eruv is in the west. V'ilu lekanu lekan loy. But to have 2 Eruv, no good. Va'avinam ba, and the Gemara asked the question, and I cheated and I told you the answer. Ma'ishna lekanu lekan deloy dein breira. What's the difference if 2 rabbis come? You can't do both because there's no breira. Mizrach u'mayrav nami ein breira. Even if only one rabbi came and you set up 2 eruvs because you don't know from which direction, it should be the same exact halacha. Ukfar ba v'amar Rabbi Yochanan ukfar ba chacham. So Rabbi Yochanan explains there's a difference. That if there's one Rav, when one Rav comes, that story, what happened was the Rav came Erev Shabbos, you just didn't know where he came from. So Erev Shabbos, you already decided which Erev to use, you just didn't know that you made that decision. That decision happened by itself. Masha'enkin, if there's 2 Rabbanim that came on Shabbos, you made the decision on Shabbos, that's Breira. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ein Adam Masna Shnei Dvarim Ke'echad. Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says, there's no Breira, you can't decide on Shabbos which Erev to use. So, fine. That's what we're going to stick with. We're going to stick with Rabbi Yehuda holds Ein Breira. If Rabbi Yehuda holds Ein Breira, then on Yontif, how could you shecht an animal? An animal is designated for eating and for breeding. So how did you make the decision? Obviously, Rabbi Yehuda holds there's no muktzah on Yontif. If there's no muktzah on Yontif, then I could eat a shechted animal on Shabbos as well. And Memela, who is the one, which Rabbi Yehuda said, I can't eat a shechted animal on Shabbos, I have to wait for Motzei Shabbos? Says the Gemara, this is the second pshat, second shrat. Elo Rav Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda the Kalim. This is Rabbi Yehuda, another halach in Shabbos. It's not. It says in the Mishnah, Kol Kalim anitolim b'Shabbos shivrayim nitolim. All vessels that you could carry on Shabbos. Let's say you have a bowl that you're allowed to touch on Shabbos. It's not muktzah, a bowl, right? Because you put food in it. It's not muktzah. Shivrayim nitolim. If the bowl broke on Shabbos, you're allowed to use the broken pieces. Ubelvad shiu oisim ein melacha. It has to be that they can do some sort of melacha. Ein melacha means some sort of melacha. In other words, shivrei areva lechasis ben pichaves. The broken parts of a bowl, you could use it to cover the opening of a barrel, shivrei schuches lechasis ben piapach, and broken pieces of glass to cover a bottle, a smaller opening. Now, just as in Hilchah Shabbos, if I find a broken piece of glass in the street, is it muktzah or not muktzah? 100% it's muktzah. It's like avonim, tzroiris, and avonim, whatever they are. Pieces of just a stone, unless you're in an Afghanah, a stone is mamish muktzah.
Or you need the bathroom.
It's a deraisa.
Unless they designated before. Right. So, a stone is muktzah, a broken piece of a bowl is muktzah. Here comes a big chiddush. The Gemara says, if it started out as a bowl on Shabbos, so it doesn't lose its Shem Kli because I can use it for a silly little thing, such as covering a bottle. That's only because it was a Kli on Shabbos. But if it wasn't a Kli on Shabbos, you just found in the street, obviously the same piece of glass, the same size, that could cover your Kli, it doesn't take it away from Muktzah, it's still Muktzah. Fine. Says Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no, it's not good enough to do a small melacha like closing a bottle. It has to have the same designation that it had before Shabbos. The broken parts of a bowl, you have to be able to put in it some sort of like oatmeal or something that's heavy. That's not gonna, because if it's more liquidy, it will fall out. It's a small piece. Shivrei schuches, harder thing. Shivrei schuches lotzuk l'tochen shemen, and broken pieces of glass from a bottle. What does a bottle do? It contains liquid. So this also has to contain liquid. Me'ei melachton in, me'ei melocha acheres loisi. See, Rabbi Yehuda holds it has to have the same melocha. Alma. Kivin loy itcha me'et melach melocha asiri. It has to be the same melocha me'erev Shabbos. Hachanami kivon by us in our Mishnah that he shechted an animal. Kivin loy itcha me'et mol asura. Since it wasn't designated for the same exact melocha, then it's no good according to Rabbi Yehuda, and that's why you have to wait until Motzei Shabbos. What's the comparison? Over there, it started out as one designation as a real kli, and now you're looking at a broken kli. Comes Abaye and says, no, over there the problem is not muktzah, over there the problem is noilad. It was completely born on Shabbos. Something that was created on Shabbos is muktzah, a different type of muktzah. Muktzah is noilad. So over there, it started out as a giant kli. Now you're talking about a fraction of a kli. It's a different type of kli.
It's made melachta.
Right. Wow. Because it's different. It's a completely different kli.
It's a different size.
Look, we'll see. We're going to go into that, exactly what you're discussing. Hacha mikare uchla ulebasoif uchla. It started out as food, an animal's food, and ended up as food. Uchla de ifrasu. This is food that's broken off. For example, if you have a giant loaf of bread and you broke off a piece of the bread, so it's not noilad, it's just a smaller part of the larger sum. So when you have an animal that's food and now you shecht and you're eating it, it's the same animal, it's just a different form of food. Before the food was walking around, and now the food is not walking around, but it's still food.
We don't say that it was legata.
Right. It was still loichal. Because you can't say that it's the gadol, because then you wouldn't be able to eat it on Yontif. Now at this point, we have to assume that it's for eating also. It's designated for food. Otherwise, how do you eat it in Yom Tov? What?
Only for you.
Right.
Yes, breira, in breira, only for eating. Fine. So we're going to have to say only for eating. V'shaminen leila Rabbi Yehuda the Omar uchlod ifras shaper domi. This is the point I was saying to you that you're going to see a little bit. This might answer what you're asking. Where do we see this concept that food that breaks off and it's similar to the original food? It's not. No, it's not. Ein soichatin es aperos loitzim mashkin. Right? It's an issa d'oraisa to squeeze fruit on Shabbos. V'miyatzum atzbon. But if the juice came out on its own, asurin. It's asur. Why? Because you might come to squeeze juice on Shabbos. If I let you drink it, you'll do it lechatchila, and that's a problem. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im lo ochlan, if the food is made to eat, let's say you have some sort of pomegranate that it's made to eat, hayotzem mutar. Why? Because I don't want juice. I hate juice. I want to eat a solid food. The fact that the liquid came out of it is not to my liking, and therefore I'm not worried that this guy's going to go and squeeze it lechatchila. V'im lemashkin, but if the fruit is designated for juice, like a grape, hayotzem osur. And memela, it's osur. So what do you see over here? That food that changes its designation, even if it changes from solid to liquid, it's osur. That was its designation. It's within the designation. Juice is part of food, even though this thing was food. L'maisa, at the end of the day, the juice is part of the food. It's ifra. It's broken food. It looks like this. It looks like a grape, but
It's not noilad.
Right, that's the
the main
and it's
point.
not noilad, right. That's the point.
right. So Abayi's question was, don't tell me, don't bring me a raya from over there, from the Shivrei Kalim of Muktzah, that I can't use it according to Rabbi Yehuda. Over there, it's a different kli, but over here, it's the same. And Memela, he would hold that if you shecht an animal on Shabbos, you could eat the meat. So I don't have a good source of Rabbi Yehuda. It's not the Rabbi Yehuda that says noilad, because noilad, this animal was designated for food before Shabbos, and I should be able to eat it on Shabbos itself if you shecht it on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, yeah, another attempt. Lavit ma'alam Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel moida hoya Rabbi Yehuda chachamim besali zeisim va'anovim. Most people, what do they do with olives and grapes? 99% of the people squeeze them, or 90%, whatever it is, squeeze them. So even if you don't squeeze it, even if you don't want it for juice, it doesn't matter with choyshe that maybe you'll squeeze it. Alma kivin l'schita kaima yoiv daite. So it's also memel. It's also hachanami kivin l'schita kaima yoiv daite. So maybe this guy, we have to be concerned if you're going to allow him to eat the meat on Shabbos. Maybe this guy's going to go and shech the animal on Shabbos. Just like I'm worried that maybe he's going to squeeze a grape on Shabbos because some people squeeze grapes on Shabbos. So maybe this person, if you allow him to eat the meat, he's going to shech the animal on Shabbos. And maybe that's why it's also to eat the meat on Shabbos. You have to wait till Motzei Shabbos. Says the Gemara. Where's that sheet? Just for a second. Says the Gemara. If you look all the way in the beginning of the sugya, the Mishnah says that if you shecht on Shabbos, it's kosher. Says Rav, who's the whole guy that started? Who's the one that started the whole sugya? Rav. Says Rav, it's only on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Gemara, the whole sugya goes according to Rav. Ha'amar Rav, cholak hoy Rabbi Yehuda, afilu b'sal zeis v'anovim. Rav is mechulik on what you just said. Rav holds that a basket of grapes, if you don't want it for the juice, it's not also for you. It's mutter. There's no noilat. So now this is the third attempt. Which Rabbi Yehuda is it that holds that if you shecht an animal on Shabbos, you're allowed to eat the meat, but not on Shabbos? You have to wait till Motzei Shabbos. Who is it? Rabbi Yehuda de Neiroisi. It's the Rabbi Yehuda again in Shabbos. of candles. The Sanyo. Mitaltalin ner chodesh avelo yoshan. What's a ner? We're referring to this thing right over here. This is a candle made out of cheres. Yeah? Not like what we have today. Now what happens is, if you use this a lot, it becomes disgusting. It's oily, it's black, it's full of gook, it's no good. So this is muktzah machmas miyos, basically. It's good for one thing, one purpose. It gives light. Once you're done with light, you can't touch it. It's 100% muktzah. It's a really bad muktzah machmas miyos. Metaltal ner chodosh avalo yoshan. So if it's brand new, never used, out of the box, so what could I do with it? It's a bowl. I'll put my fruit in it. But if it's yashon, it's muktzah. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. So memela. So the same thing would apply to an animal. Since I see that something has zero use, is muktzah. So an animal also has zero use. It's ever menachai. There's no use. It's muktzah. There's a lot of people that have pets. And there's a shayla la'alacha, if you're allowed to touch a pet. I didn't go into it, but I know that a lot of Rabbanim hold that it's also. The Mishabur says you're not allowed to pet a dog on Shabbos. It has zero use. What use does it provide? It's not food. It's nothing. What is it?
Dog.
What?
It's a guard dog, security.
Yeah, really? Those little poodles running around
A
B'Shemesh?
dog could have security.
Or a service dog.
Those-
For a blind person.
Yeah, there's a few things.
Whatever. So I don't. Okay. I'm not going into it. I'm just saying. Just remember, there's such a concept of a live animal has no use. It's muktzah. If it has use, then it has use. If it's your pillow, if it's your guard dog, whatever it is, then I guess there's something. If it makes you feel good, I don't know if that's a
blind man.
blind man. That's what he's saying. But just a dog that makes you feel all fuzzy, I don't know if that's that's a gather of use. Says the Gemara, oh, so again, so if we say that something is muktzah machmas miyos, it has no use. If it has no use, it's also for you to touch on Shabbos. So this animal that came into Shabbos, it was ever menachai, it had zero use. Now that you created a new use for it, it's still muktzah, and that's why Rabbi says, wait until Matzah Shabbos. Says the Gemara, there's a difference between muktzahs. Over there by the candle, it's muktzah machmas miyos. It's disgusting. What's the art school word? Repugnant. It's what? Oh, yeah, and it's just say repugnant. What? So it's mamish disgusting. Muktzah machmas isur mishamasle. So this animal that's muktzah machmas ever menachai, that's machmas isur. It's a completely different isur. Although it's pretty disgusting to take a bite out of it, out of a live animal, fine, but it's a different isur. This nan, and how do I know to make a distinction between the two isurim? This nan, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kol neiros daf tesvav medalav, kol neiros shomateches metaltalin chutz min haner shediku bo ba'oser Shabbos. All candles of metal, meaning they're not miyos, you're allowed to move them because they're not miyos. But if you lit it on Shabbos, that's muktzah machmas isur, because it was lit. It had an error, and so it went from a kli to muktzah machmas isur. Says the Gemara, v'dil mashani hosam duhu dochle b'yadayim. When a person lights a candle on Shabbos with his hands, he's pushing it off. He's saying, I'm not using this on Shabbos. So that would be different than an animal just grazing around in your backyard that you didn't physically push it away and say, I'm not using this. When you take a candle, you light it, you're physically pushing it away from you. Not only in your mind don't you want to use it on Shabbos, but also every Shabbos, you're pushing away saying, I'm not using this muktzah. So now we have to come up with a new pshat. That's tomorrow's daf. Who's this Rabbi Yehuda that says that you have to eat, you can only eat the meat on Matzah Shabbos? Have a great day.
Thursday night.